Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and we are back with Quirk Knife. This time, all the way to chapter 19. We're getting there to chapter 80 someday, but that day is not today. So let's get straight into it. Hitoshi had been feeling more stressed than usual. All his problems were beginning to pile up. The exams were coming up fast, and although he has improved with his capture weapon, that doesn't mean that he's anywhere near close to being successful. So many things can go wrong during this entrance exam. And what if he let Izuku down? At least he finally completed online school last week. Thank God. Miss Kayabu had fallen ill and can barely run the library at this point, and money has always been an issue between the two of them. Of course, Hitoshi was worried for her well-being, but he felt selfish since he was worried about himself. If something happened to Miss Kayabu, what would happen to him? She was the only foster family he ever had who truly liked him and never tried to stick a muzzle on his face. What if he was tossed back into the system? It was a selfish thought. Hitoshi knew that, but he couldn't get it out of his head. Hitoshi ran faster, wanting to feel the familiar burn in his lungs, not even noticing May falling behind. Hey, Lavender! The pink-haired girl used her spring boots as she was testing and jumped faster. Would you slow down? You'll pop a lung for Kami's sake. Hitoshi inhaled shallow breaths as he stopped, steadying himself and placing his hands on his knees, doubling over. You okay? May placed a gentle hand on his back. You shouldn't overwork yourself. It's not healthy. I know. Hitoshi heaved. Just need a minute. May hummed and placed her hands on her hips. Take your time then. There's no rush. Where's Suzuku today? Don't know. Said something about having a side quest. May rolled his eyes. Still fucking weird. Does he ever speak like a normal person? Hitoshi smiled. I don't know. I just hope the side quest doesn't consist of stabbing people. The two walked the last block as Hitoshi caught his breath, gently massaging his thighs as they made their way to the warehouse. So, have you sorted out the whole entrance exam? Are you allowed to use your support item? Hitoshi looked over to May. I sent an email and application in, but I haven't received an answer yet. I think he'll be fine. The girl tapped her chin. Because like Eraserhead works there, right? So maybe they'll be like, we must let this boy use his support item. He'll be the next Eraserhead. May spoke in a ridiculous voice, and Hitoshi smirked. Who are you trying to impersonate exactly? I don't know. Jesus, maybe? Does Jesus work at UA? Who knows, Toshi? Who knows? Hitoshi smothered a giggle into his elbow as he opened the door of the warehouse, the smell of cigarettes hitting him right in the face. Oi! He roared, anger bubbling up without any warning. I swear to fucking God, Izuku, if you've taken up smoking as your side quest, you'll never see the light of day again. Teal eyes were wide as they caught Hitoshi off guard. Who the fuck is this guy, May? The bubblegum girl tilted her head to the side. I don't know. Do you know? No. Hey! Izuku sang as he skipped out behind one of the large empty crates kept in the warehouse. Oh, I see you all met. No. All three said at once, and Hitoshi cocked his chin upwards. I see. Period. I haven't met. This is my side quest, Izuku shouted. My side quest entitled Dobby. Hitoshi stared at the man who literally reeks of cigarettes, Kami. He has a large skin graft along his jaw and underneath his eyes, along with parts of his bare chest that was visible. Are those staples? Hitoshi deadpanned, and the man, Dobby, he exhaled sharply and took a step forward. That's a fucking rude question. Not rude, I'm just stating. Those staples are impractical. Hitoshi also took a step forward, grateful for his natural height. Ever heard of stitches? Dobby mocked like a child. Who the fuck are you, my mom? Play nice, Izuku scolded, pointing one knife at both of them. May laughed. Hi, you smell bad. Dobby threw his hands in the air. Kame, I didn't know this was a roast session. Oh man, he set himself up for this. That is not Hitoshi's fault. This is no one's fault but Dobby's. Roast session? Nah, seems like your skin had enough of that. Blue flames erupted from Dobby's palm and May screeched, darting towards Izuku. Hitoshi didn't scream, really. Okay, he did, and he ran really fast as the arsonist chased him across the warehouse. He's trying to cook me! The purple-haired teen shrieked, his hands up in the air as he dodged another string of hot flames. Get back here, you little shitbag! Dobby shouted as his heels slammed into the concrete, and it didn't take long for his flames to be snuffed out and doubled over, breathing heavily. Hitoshi slowed down and crossed his arms. Not so tough with all that lung cancer, no? Dobby's head popped up. You're the one who's fucking screaming for help seconds ago, you little bitch. Yeah, and who's hyperventilating now? I'm not hyperventilating. I'm just taking a breather. Hitoshi raised an eyebrow. Wait, you can breathe? You mean your lungs haven't disintegrated yet? Dobby finally stood up and matched the teenager's height. You got some fucking nerve. Hitoshi cut him off with a blow of raspberry right in the man's face, sticking his tongue out. Alright, that's embarrassing. And he wasn't exactly sure what came over him to do that, but too late. Did you just... Hitoshi did it again. Stop that! And again. This time, instead of speaking, Dobby did the exact same thing and shocked both of them. Are you two done? Izuku sneered, standing there with his arms crossed and tapping his foot quickly. Uh-oh, you made him mad, May whispered, despite Izuku standing literally right next to her. You called him stinky. Hitoshi threw a finger at his face, because no way was he going to go down without taking May with him. No, I did not. I didn't call him stinky. I said he smells bad, which he does. Izuku, your friends suck, Dobby deadpanned. Oi, who are you to say that? May suddenly shouted. We're awesome. You're the one that sucks. You're like, 30? And arguing with 15-year-olds? First off, Dobby hissed, you can obviously tell that I'm still young. I'm 22. Second off, Izuku dragged me here. I was completely fine being homeless. Hitoshi sighed because that is only something his little friend here would do. You, Izuku, you adopted a 22-year-old? No, a 22-year-old homeless arsonist? Yes, Izuku jumped. And isn't he just adorable? Hitoshi shot a glance over to the man who was wearing the ugliest scowl you've ever seen, practically foaming at the mouth. Adorable isn't exactly the word I would use, he drawled. May hummed in agreement. Yes, I would use rabbit instead. Dobby opened his mouth to argue in return, but Hitoshi waved a hand dismissing him and turned to Izuku. Have you eaten yet? I brought you a sandwich. Izuku shook his head. No, I already ate lunch. It was good, too. Hitoshi frowned. What? Where'd you get the food from? Oh, Dobby got it for me. He's homeless, but he has a little bit of money, and he bought me an American-style cheeseburger. I didn't like the cheese, though. That part was yucky. It took a moment, but Hitoshi Maverick's eyes cracked back open to the stranger, and perhaps he had been hasty. You fed him? He asked quietly, and Dobby's face almost seemed to flush slightly. Fucking whatever. Kid is like 2 feet tall and 70 pounds. Yeah, I gave him some fucking food. Hitoshi crossed his arms and looked back over to May and Izuku. The two were fussing over their latest project. Alright, the lanky boy hummed. Well, thank you for that. Izuku doesn't really, take care of himself. I could tell. Dobby snorted. Looks like he's on the brink of death. He always looks like that. Is that supposed to make me feel any better? It was a silent moment. Then Hitoshi breathed out through his nose with an amused smile. Hi, I'm Hitoshi Shinso, by the way. Dobby hummed. Well, you already know who I am. Do I? Why are you here? Dobby crossed his arms. Little fucker gave me a revelation the other night. Guess I'm trying to not be an asshole. Hitoshi nodded. And you know about Izuku, vigilante, and missing child? Yes, I'm familiar with the situation. Ah, trauma bonding. Dobby snorted. Bingo. Yeah, okay. Hitoshi will admit that maybe he was a little hasty. Who is he to judge someone by their appearance and quirk? Shota has tried this idea before, but last time Izuku caught one look at him and left without his dinner. To be fair, that was a few weeks ago, and maybe the kid would stop being a little shit sometime soon. He listened to Hisashi hum in the kitchen along to the crappy radio. Maybe Shota should get him a new one soon. He smiled at the thought and leaned back on his seat of the windowsill, letting his legs dangle over the side. Shota glanced at the stupid yellow cat clock on the wall, the one he let Hisashi hang up on the first day they moved in. It was 10 till 7. Izuku was never early, nor was he late. The plate of food was always taken off the windowsill at exactly 7 o'clock. It was sort of strange to Shota. It was almost as if he was afraid to be scolded or upset either of the two men. 8 until 7. Shota watched Mika walk several laps around their couch, which was, by the way, no longer stained by a bloody handprint. Hun, Hisashi cried over the music from the kitchen. Pork is ready. Would you like to come and put the plates out for me and put Izuku's in the container? Shota glanced out of the window, then back to the clock to make sure he had time. As quickly as possible, the gruff man tucked his hair behind his ears and stood, sulking into the small kitchen and squishing in beside his husband at the counter. We should really look for a new apartment, Hisashi teased. He knew how much Shota hated the idea of moving. I'm just kidding, Joe, he added quickly, landing a soft kiss against the other's scruffy jaw, who simply murmured something unintelligible in response. He gathered the pork, rice, and steamed vegetables into Izuku's noted container, or better known as the one of the two they rotate between until the other was returned. Maybe I can bait him in with coffee, Shota mumbled. Didn't the kid say he liked his coffee black that one time? What was that? Hisashi leaned back over with a curious glance, and Shota waved a hand off and returned to his seat at the windowsill, setting the container down. He checked the clock again. 5 until 7. You know he won't take the food if you're sitting there. Shota jumped at the sudden sentence, his husband much closer than he was before. You don't know that, he grunted back, crossing his arms in a childish manner. Hisashi chuckled lightly. Whatever you say, Sho. Yeah, it was whatever he says, because he was always right, usually. 2 until 7. Shota groaned and tried not to tug at his hair, a bad habit he's picked up lately from none other than the problem child himself. It was probably something the both of them should fix. 1 until 7. Hisashi brought a plate of food over to Shota and gently eased it into his lap, then took his own to the couch where he began to flick through the television channels, Shota watching the small second hand of the clock grow closer and closer to 12, where the hour hand would then strike 7. Why was he so nervous? This wasn't his problem. Shota pulled his legs back in from the outside of the window and crossed them, popping some rice into his mouth and chewing slowly, waiting anxiously. Izuku was always silent. He often came and went without either of the two owners of the apartment noticing, not until he called out a thank you or a goodbye. This time, though, there was an annoyed grunt coming from the fire escape, and some pipes attached to the sides of their building creaked. It was almost enough to make Hazashi turn down his stupid reality show and look over his shoulder with his head cocked to the side. Fucking stupid fucking... Shota frowned. That didn't sound like Izuku. Before he had a chance to lean his head out of the window, a puff of green hair nearly collided with his nose. Forest green eyes met his own, then flashed back down. Come on! Izuku's little fingers gripped at the windowsill like a child peering over the counter at a candy store. Hi. Hello? Shota hesitated after a moment. Who were you talking to? Hazashi wandered over and held the plate out tightly to his chest as if someone might steal it. Mika weaving around his ankles with her ears perked up. Shota's question was answered when a spiky black-haired joined the side of the green teal eyes, unfocused as the young man wheezed. How? Fuck. Climb so fast. You just have bad lungs. Izuku nodded his head matter-of-factly, then turned back to Shota. Hi. Hello. Shota repeated once more, quite literally stunned into silence. What the hell? This is Dobby. Shota rubbed his eyes. What the fuck is a Dobby? Language! Hazashi scolded them right away. Not around the child. Have you heard him talk? Dobby deadpanned, finally able to breathe as his eyes roamed the apartment. Where are we exactly? And is that Present Mike? Izuku nodded. Uh-huh, and that's Eraserhead? The hero I was talking about. Shota ignored the heat prickling to the tips of his ears. You were talking about me? No. Izuku gasped, and Dobby snorted. Yes, he said you two are the only real heroes he know. Aww. Hazashi squealed as Izuku and Shota looked like they'd been wanting to melt into a bowl of soup and that's been pouring down on the garbage disposal. I'm leaving you fucking behind next time, Izuku growled at Dobby while the man just smirked with a content expression. No, you won't. Izuku leaned further and looked at the container. Ooh, pork. Dobby's eyes flickered down to the food and rested a chin on his hands. So, heroes. Shota scrunched up his nose. He didn't like the way the term heroes rolled off the guy's tongue. You two must be good if Chaos. Dude, your mask. Izuku startled with the slice of pork hanging halfway out of his mouth. What? They're gonna know. Oh, they already know. I got stabbed a few months back and came here. You got stabbed? Yeah, now let's move on. Here. Dobby opened his mouth to respond, but never got the chance as another slice of Izuku's pork was shoved into his mouth. To make you big and motherfucking strong. Language. You're the one that's built like a tiny bunny who's lost all their winter chub. Why does everyone keep calling me a bunny? You do look like a bunny, problem child. What does that even mean, Eraser? Shota paused and smiled softly. Kid, I told you, I'm not on patrol. Shota Aizawa is fine. Izuku forced another spoonful of rice into Dobby's mouth, then to his own before speaking. You want me to call you Shota Aizawa? Or whatever makes you comfortable? Izuku poked around at the Brussels sprouts until Shota shot him one demanding look, and the boy slowly slipped one into his mouth with subtle grimace. Hisashi and Shoto learned on the first day that the boy did not like vegetables. Like, at all. Despite looking like one. At first, he'd return the container the next day with the vegetables untouched. But after one scolding message written on a sticky note later, the vegetables were always finished. Shota, then, Izuku hummed, the man himself a little surprised that the greenette was so bold to casually call him by his first name. Whatever, Shota did say to use whatever made him feel comfortable. Then I'm Hisashi, the blonde butted in. I want to be included, too. Izuku took in another vegetable with a frown, and Dobby snorted. What, you don't like your vegetables? Are you fucking 3? Izuku flipped him off with his free hand. Oi, I'm pretty sure you've been munching on cigarettes and snorting cocaine for the past few years. Hey, Dobby gasped. I would never do cocaine. I don't stoop that low. Oh, well, personally, I would if someone off. Shota chewed on a piece of pork for a moment, then decided to take a chance. Would you guys like to come in for coffee? Izuku's eyes widened for a moment, almost like he wanted to come in, but the expression was quickly washed away. He didn't respond, but he also made no move to enter the warm home. It was enough to make Shota's heart sting, but only a little. After forcing some more vegetables into both himself and Dobby, Izuku reached for the window and scratched Mika's ears. Okay, thank you. Of course, Hisashi said gently. You two stay out of trouble. Fucking whatever, Dobby mumbled as he began to descend, Izuku looking back up and speaking in a quiet whisper. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna save him too. He'll be okay. Shota couldn't help the panicked look he let slip. What? What does that mean, Izuku? Why are you saving him? Izuku looked down presumably at Dobby, then lifted his eyes once more. He's broken. Broken like me. But I think I can put him back together again. Without another word, the pale, freckled face dropped down and disappeared like he did every day, leaving Shota to dwell in his thoughts. Izuku thought he was broken? The next day, Hisashi left 2 containers on the windowsill. Izuku and Dobby ate by the windowsill once more, speaking quietly between each other as Shota and Hisashi moved the dining room table closer so they can eat nearby. While speaking with Dobby about a week later, Shota heard the real laugh bubble from the kid's lips, a dim sparkle in his eyes that he'd never seen before. Something burned in Shota. He needed to save his kid. Well, his kids now. The kid... Not his... fuck. Dobby, you can't burn them. What? Why not? It's rude. Rude? Did you just say fucking rude? That man punched you. Dobby, obviously he punched me. We were fighting. Well, that doesn't mean he gets to punch you. Oh, Lord. Do you want to be a vigilante or an arsonist? Why can't I be both, huh? Izuku pinched the bridge of his nose and slipped his rods back into the spots of his sides of his backpack. Look, Dobby, lesson 32. You can't just hurt people because they make you angry. I learned that eventually, but we don't want to be villains, remember? Dobby sighed and snuffed the smoke out that was radiating from his palms. Right, sorry. It's cool. I read a bit about withdrawal symptoms too. I'm sure those aren't helping. Yeah. Izuku sent a location to Tsukachi and beamed up at Dobby. We're all done for the night. Want to get something to eat? Dobby rolled his eyes. Whatever. What do you want? Izuku began striding from the alleyway, and Dobby followed, watching Izuku's small ponytail sway with each step. Burger. No. Choose something with vegetables. I got you a burger 4 days ago. Look, Izuku doesn't need to know that Dobby's been scamming Endeavor's bank account for the past year. Not like the old man needs it anyway. He hasn't even noticed. Izuku pouted for a moment. Fine. How about, tofu? Can we have tofu, B? Dobby leaned over and ruffled the kid's loose hair gently, something he found Izuku growing fond of. Yeah, yeah, we can get tofu. Izuku didn't fall asleep much, but when he does, he speaks a lot. Well, screams. And it's safe to say that Dobby's list of people he hates has gained a new member, and that goes for anyone else who lays a finger on this kid. Izuku scares Dobby, but not because of who he is. No, because Izuku is just like Dobby, and that's what scares him. Yeah, we did it! Hell yeah! We got to the end of this. This is kind of boring, to be honest. I gotta say, this chapter was kind of boring. I'm like, usually I'm like, yay, this chapter is the best. Like, no, this chapter was not the best. But my acting skills are getting better. The whole thing between Dobby and Izuku, like doing their silly banter, I got that down pat. I'm so proud of myself with that. But it just this chapter was kind of like, eh. It's like it's average quality wise. Not a lot of stuff happened, but it's like okay, this is like all right. Had a little bit of battling between Hitoshi and Dobby, but like, it was like, if that makes any sense to anybody. So this is a little bit longer than I expected to be ranting about it. But if you want to see more of this and more of my great acting skills, quote unquote, you know what to do. Bye.